Hey, welcome back to Ramblings of an Old Broad. It's Monday. I haven't felt very good today. Been trying to get ready to go to Missouri, but there's a couple things. First, the FIFA Club World Cup ceremony. Yeah, that was pretty interesting considering the orange one was not one of the team. Did he know that? Not quite sure he did. I don't think it was appreciated that he stayed in the pictures. They had to physically push him to the back row so they could take pictures. The Epstein thing is still going on. Not that that's going to change. He can't release those files. He's in them. We all know that. We've known it for a long time. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people, but he's only doing it for himself. You know, unfortunately, I got a little in my feels last night as I was going to sleep about this flood here in Texas because, as I've told you, my grandson was killed in a car accident here. And it was in 2015 in June, and it was the first really bad rain and flooding. He was out, they were out fishing, and they didn't want to stop fishing, so he decided to come in and get a tent. Now, I have to let you understand that my grandson never was that thrilled about driving. Even though he was 25, he had recently just started driving. He was always afraid of it. So as he was driving back in, he was by himself, and he started hydroplaning. I'm sure he didn't know what to do. His truck got thrown across all 4 lanes into a pole, and he died. As I watched these people, and it was my grandson, not my son. It was my daughter's son and my oldest daughter, and she's never been the same. She's not the same person. She's not the same person. So when I look at these people who are parents who are losing their little child, a small child, 10, 11, 12 years old, there's just no words. There's no words. So it's been hard for me this last week to wrap my head around politics, even though they're on my mind, and I see what's going on, and I hear what's going on, and I read between the lines, and I see things we all should be seeing. I'm having a hard time talking about all of it right now. Sometimes your brain latches on to something and it's just hard to make sense of the world around you. And I'm sure there's many of you out there, many of you that have lost ones, whether it be a child or a grandchild, that knows the feeling. I was blessed in many ways because my youngest daughter, her her son, my grandson, and I had just been down here for several days and to visit. And my grandson had pulled a chair next to the bed and sat and talked with me. I was reading a James Patterson book, and we talked about that book because he had already read it, and he was a James Patterson fan. And we sat there and talked, and I had brought him this little drone, thinking I was really giving him something that maybe he didn't have, when he and his best friend, who he lived with, had already flown the big ones and wrecked them. Yeah, he worked out in the oil field, so he had the money to do all that. But he stayed here that week, even though I took up the bed. And that morning, when we were leaving, he was sleeping in the recliner. And I went over to him, and he was about half awake, and ruffled his curly hair. Yes, even at 25. Kissed him on the cheek, told him I loved him, and that I would see him next time. At 11 o'clock that same night, I was getting into bed at my home in Missouri when I got a phone call from my youngest daughter that Zachary was gone. I'll never forget that feeling. It is a gut punch like you've never felt before. I've had parents die, but it wasn't nothing like that. It was an unbelievable pain. A pain that you take with you for the rest of your life. So I feel a little bit like they must feel and will feel for the rest of their life. Like I said, I felt blessed because I got to say goodbye. That's something these parents didn't get to do. They didn't get to say goodbye. They didn't get to hold their loved one. In some cases, they haven't even seen their body yet. So let's all just focus on these people and the torture that they're going through right now. The rest will work itself out. I'm not saying that we shouldn't still keep abreast of what's going on in this world. It's terrible, and we know it. But sometimes there's things that supersede everything else. And the pain of losing a child is one of them. So let's all just send, you don't have to be religious, send your vibes, send your prayers, send whatever you have to send to these people to uplift their soul while they're going through this terrible time in their life. I love you all. Have a good night.